Well, God bless you. Thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning. Thanking you for being a part of the broadcast and being with us here at Kingdom Voice. As always, it is our pleasure and it is our honor to have you here with us, to be a part of the broadcast, to share with us truths, or rather, to share with us truths of the kingdom. And it's a part of what we endeavor to do and to bring about here at Kingdom Voice is a place, a venue, a safe space for us to talk about the journey that we are all engaged in. And so I really do appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to be with us and to be a part of what we're doing here on the broadcast at Kingdom Voice. You know, um, we are certainly living in some very interesting times. But before we get into that, just allow me to do a little bit of housekeeping, and I want to invite all of you um, that are sharing and participating here with us to connect with us, to let us know that you're watching and that you're gaining some insight from the broadcast, so that we can continue to um, continue to engage with one another. So just let us know that you're here and drop a line, hello, whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're watching on YouTube. And again, it would mean a lot to us. Um, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all we ask, is just subscribe. It gives us an opportunity to um, expand our reach. And if you know anything about YouTube streaming, it certainly helps the algorithm that drives the platform of YouTube to extend our content more and more across the YouTube platform. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I see you starting to just share your presence. Thank you so much, Lola, Sandrea, Tia. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, I want to today, and for those of you that are watching, today I want to talk about lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions. And one of the things that brought this to mind and brought this to my spirit is just the hyper political partisan environment that we're living in these days. It's everything is hyper political. I think we have resorted to tribalism and not going to resort. We're there. Either you're with me or you're against me. There is no middle ground now. It's black and white. You're with me or you're against me. And what's flowing out of that mindset is this idea of, if you're not saying what I want to hear, then you're lying. And so today I want to talk about that issue, because I think a lot of times that infiltrates the it infiltrates the mindset of kingdom believers, of kingdom individuals, because we are immersed in this society, we are immersed in this culture. And so let's talk about lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions. Let's start with this idea that someone is lying to you. And let's talk about lying. For the most part, people as a society, built on the foundation of truth, built on the foundation of decency and order, lying is a no-no. It's taboo in our culture. That's not the case in every culture. I want you to understand that. There are some cultures that lying is just accepted. Matter of fact, not only is it acceptable, it is expected. You know, people are going to lie to you. That's their first recourse. So it sharpens their skills to, or sharpens their awareness. I'm not say skills, but awareness of the potential of someone lying. Juxtapose that to our culture where the expectation is that you're going to tell me the truth. We raise our kids that way. We effort and we endeavor to be that way. And then the exception for many of us in our culture is to tell the lie. Truth is the expectation, the lie is the exception. Well, more and more now, it is the expectation is that everybody's just lying to me. Okay. And as a result of that, we now have gotten ourselves into this mindset that anything anyone says is, in fact, a lie. Okay. Anything anyone says now that disagrees with what my expectations are is a lie. And that's just not the case all the time. So I've done a lot of thinking. I've done a lot of, meditating around this issue and speaking with mother and father about this issue, and want to share what I've heard mother and father say. So when we think of a lie, we think that someone has said something that is not true. Okay? And that makes it a lie. That's what we typically think. I don't think it is that simple. I think when someone says something with the intent of deceiving me, that makes it a lie, or deceiving the recipient of that information, that makes it a lie. And I'll give you an example. When we look at, or when we consider an incident, and I ask someone what happened, and they say to me, and they give to me their honest, truth-filled response to that question. Okay? They told me their version, their understanding of what happened in truth. Further examination indicates that there was more to it. Okay? Did they lie to me? Meaning that there was some additional events associated with that they did not tell me. Did they lie to me? Did they intentionally deceive me? And I think the answer could be, well, they could have, but how do we know? How do we know that they lied, or did they just omit some information? Maybe not intentional, but they just omitted some information. That didn't make it a lie. Okay? It simply means that there were some omissions. And notice in the title, I talked about intentional omissions. That's different than an honest, ignorant omission. So because they didn't tell me all the truth doesn't make it a lie coming from them. It simply means they didn't understand all that was pertaining to that event, but they gave me the truth based on what they understood the truth to be. And I think many times today, when we talk about lies, when we talk about lying, we are talking about someone intentionally deceiving me. But I think a lot of people sometimes, especially in this, again, in this hyper-partisan political environment that we're in, we're so quick to say that someone lied because they, added a bit more, or they omitted something unintentionally from the conversation or from their response. I think lies goes deeper than simply that. I think lies become when you effort to intentionally, listen to me closely, intentionally say something to deceive the individual or individuals that are the recipient of what you're saying. You intend to mislead them into a different direction than what otherwise they would believe. Okay, so you intentionally said something that you knew was not true. That, beloved, to me, constitutes lying. You knew that. Now, when we as a nation built on laws, and when you are before the judicial system, you have to be very careful. You have to be very mindful that the judicial system doesn't have the luxury of digging into your statements to the degree to understand the intent of your heart. They are going to go by the comments that you make. And as a result of that, if you are not sharing what you know to be true, okay, if you're not sharing that, the judicial system will constitute you lying to the court. And that ends up and opens up a whole nother legal situation and another issue there. But when we're talking about lying, there is one judge, the judge of the kingdom, the judge of Elohim, who knows your heart. They know your intent. They know your sentiment. And the judge of the kingdom knows you better than you know yourself. And there is no lying to the judge. There is no misintent, if you will, or malintent, if you will, to the judge of the kingdom. When you say something, understand everything that you say is being said before the judge of the kingdom. And the judge of the kingdom is the one with whom we have to do. And we can't deceive them. We can't deceive the judge of the kingdom. So as a kingdom heir, as a kingdom citizen, your effort and your intent is to say and to give what you believe to be the truth, with the intent of clarifying your understanding of the issues. Lies lead nowhere. Lies will only end up with creating more issues than you are trying to avoid. Okay, so back to the basic question: what is a lie? A lie is when you intentionally say something with the intent of getting someone to believe something other than what really is at hand, or should I say, what really is the truth. That's what a lie is. You knew it. You intended to deceive, and then you gave the words, you gave the comments to deceive someone. That's where a lie begins to take root and take effect like a cancer. Okay? That's where a lie begins to take root like a cancer. And so I absolutely want to encourage us when we are engaged in these types of activities, in these types of we cannot allow ourselves as believers to resort to that kind of behavior. And for those of us that are the recipients of that, let us not be so quick to judge someone as a liar until we've allowed ourselves to understand what the intent was behind what they said. Okay? Because now you get into the other two components. Before we do that, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our conversation as we journey together into the kingdom. If you've ever wondered how you can support what we are doing here at Rock of Truth Ministries and our Kingdom Voice broadcast, here's how. Please share the link to this and other broadcasts on your social media platforms. as we try to reach more people with the kingdom message. It helps when we can get a personal introduction to your circle of friends. This introduction makes it far more likely for them to give us a chance to share what God is saying through us. If you have not done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@ROTruthMIN. Thanks again for joining us today. Now let's get back to Apostle Bellany and today's next topic. Here's Apostle Bellany.
When we, as I was saying earlier, when we're looking at, lies, then we move into this area of misstatements. Okay. And there are misstatements. There are people that forget certain things about, or they state their version of what they saw, which doesn't comport with what actually was going on. And I'll give you an example of what really launched this for me, decades ago. Think about it this way. You see a man lying on the ground and you watch another person. Now you're disjointed, disconnected from that event. You're a passerby. You see a man lying on the ground and you see someone pounding on his chest, and you walk away from that event with the perception of someone was beating another person. So when you're asked about that and you give your account of that, you are saying, man, I saw this guy lying on the ground, another guy standing over him. I mean, he was beating him. He was pounding him. And he was, I just didn't understand why he was beating on this guy so bad. That's your account of the facts as you saw them. It's your account of them. Someone more intimate to the event understood greater detail and insight of that event, and they gave their account of it. And they said that a guy had fallen on the ground and was suffering from a heart attack, and a doctor nearby recognized what was happening and started to give the gentleman medical attention. And so he was pounding his chest to shock his heart so that he could perform CPR. Two totally different accounts of the same event from two different people. Many times we get caught up in misstatements about an event, I'm gonna use a word here, misinsights about an event that lead people to believe something that is not the case. Is that a lie? No, I don't think so. It gets a bit more complex and a bit more convoluted than just the black and white approach that we would like to see. I think it is incumbent upon us to understand these issues that we're dealing with, so that we can really recognize what is the truth about this matter. There's a scripture that says, be slow to speak and swift to hear. I think that that's applicable in many, many, many different instances. Being slow to speak about something because you may not have the truth. Or when you do speak about something, be open to opposing opinions or opposing insights about that thing. Again, I want to go back to the hyper partisan political arena that we're living in and the charged up political atmosphere that we're living in. When you're having these conversations, be open to hear what the other side of the perspective is offering. And I'm not suggesting that a misstatement isn't a lie. It could be a lie. And I'm not suggesting that someone that you believe is lying is actually lying to me, or are they just giving me their version of what they understand? Okay. This is something that we have to begin to embrace. Otherwise, what you're going to find yourself doing is resorting deeper and deeper into your corner, being surrounded by an echo chamber, and then only the people that agree with you are the people that will be talking to you. That's not a good place for you. Not spiritually, not politically, not socially. That's not a good place for you. The place you want to be is where you can hear all pertinent information about an issue. And you have to intentionally put yourself in that type of atmosphere. You have to intentionally demand that type of engagement, okay, with your circle of friends, with your circle of relationships. You have to intentionally put yourself in that space, in that sphere, so that you're not trapped in an echo chamber. Because in an echo chamber, you'll only hear what you want to hear. You'll only hear the things that agree with you and your current position. It's always healthy to challenge the things that you already believe. Always healthy to challenge what you believe. You do that. Intentionally do that. You intentionally engage in conversations that challenge what you believe will begin to allow you to honestly hear the other side of the discussion. Misstatements. When we talk about misstatements, when we talk about misremembering, all of those are legitimate things. That's not an excuse for lying, but it is a legitimate issue. Okay. Things, time happen. Trauma can cloud what we remember. And so we make statements and we say things with an honest intent to share the truth, later to understand that we missed something in that process. We misremembered, we misstated something. We said it was at 5 o'clock, and the reality of it was it was at 2 o'clock. Okay, that's a misstatement. Now, again, I go back. If I knew it was at 2 o'clock and I said it was at 5 o'clock to deceive someone to thinking that it was at 5 o'clock, then I lied to them about the timeline. Beloved, I guess the point that I want to help you understand is that before we start talking about somebody lied to us or someone is lying to us, it's going to require you to be a lot more investigative, a lot more engaging than just to be saying that someone lied when in reality it could very well have been an honest misstatement. Okay. Could have very well have been an honest misstatement about what it was that that they remembered about the events at hand. Now let's talk about it from a malicious standpoint. Lies are brutal. They're like a cancer. And if you're one of those people that are habitual in lying to people for no reason at all, you need deliverance. You need to ask Mother to deliver you from that spirit of lying. I know people like that. I know people that habitually lie. Okay? They just lie because they open their mouths. And that's unfortunate because I can remember raising my boys. And even as a corporate executive, there were things that I would say to people, and I'll share it with you here. I would say to my boys, I said, son, you don't ever want to be branded a liar. I said, because the day will come when you will be telling the truth. And no one will believe you because you've already branded yourself a liar. You've demonstrated your propensity to lie and your willingness to lie. You don't want that, son. This is what I would tell my boys. Actually, my children. Let me not say my boys, but my children. You don't want to be branded a liar, because then no one will believe you. Lies have a way of making their way back to the light. And once they hit the light, they become exposed. Okay. And I can remember an incident in one of my children's lives where, because they took my advice, they got themselves in a pinch where they were hanging out with some friends, and yeah, they got into doing some things that they shouldn't have been doing, but he was the innocent one in the bunch. And were it not for him taking the stance of integrity, truth, honesty, the professor wouldn't have taken a stance for him, and as a result vouched for his character in that situation, and he was able to escape, the consequences that ultimately fell on the group. He was able to be fortunate enough to escape, and it was all because he had presented himself as someone of integrity and character and honesty. So my point to that is that you don't ever want to be branded a liar. And I know there are some people that born again, that consider themselves to be kingdom, and they deal with this issue, and they have this spirit, if you will, of lying. And you need mother to deliver you from that. You want mother to deliver you from that. And as a result of that, you'll be able to live a life much less anxiety filled. Okay. I when we are, looking at individuals, or when we're looking at this situation of misleading others, and saying things that are knowingly not true, um, that's not of the kingdom. That is coming from a different place, beloved. And I know circumstances, situations, issues come upon you. So let me say this: if you engage in a lie, there should always be a moment of conviction that accompanies the lie that is coming out of your mouth. There is always conviction coming, present. That is the promise of Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth. That is the promise of Mother, the Spirit of truth, to be there at the moment, in the instance, the instance of that lie, to convict you, to shift. You know it. And the moment to correct the lie is the moment the lie is spoken. Now, again, if there is no intent to deceive, you're simply giving what you believe to be the facts or the truth. There is no conviction there. Later on, when the whole thing comes out and they say, well, you didn't tell me that, it's because I did not know that. I did not realize that. I did not understand that. Well, you lied to. No, I didn't lie to you. I gave you what I understood the facts to be. That's the defense. That's the power. That's the veracity for which I can address any accusation of me being a liar. I gave you what I believe to be the facts and the truth as I understood it. There was simply more to it than I understood. I think that is a defensible position. That is a position that any reasonable person should and can take. That is committed to telling the truth. Lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions. I want to close just this part of the broadcast with the misstatements thing. There are people that, and I use the term misstate, they're telling you all the truth, and then they get to a spot in the account of whatever it is that they're sharing, and they intentionally make a statement, okay? They intentionally make a statement to convey a different sentiment than what would normally be conveyed in the process of them telling their story. Okay, they either give a voice inflection, and that is as much contributor to someone not understanding the facts behind a matter. Body language, voice inflection, all of that contribute to a lie and an intentional misstatement to deceive. All of that. It's not just verbal, it is also body language, unspoken sentiments also constitute and contribute to the lie being perpetuated. This is a very powerful, powerful thing that we're dealing with, beloved. This is something that many of us do well to allow mother to really begin to, one, make us sensitize us to it happening to us, and also convicting us when we, whether inadvertently or intentionally, engage in it ourselves. I often have challenging conversations within my family. And one of the things that I always effort to do is, one, understand what is being said and make sure that I am conveying my thoughts and my intent very clearly. Okay. And I'll say this. Let me digress for just a minute and say this. Again, in this hyper political partisan environment that we live in, one of the things people do when they get into these discussions, whether it's social issues or whether it's political issues or whether it's economic or educational issues, it doesn't matter. When you begin to defend your position and then you begin to defend the position, not to further acquiring truth, but just to not be wrong, okay? You're defending your position not to be wrong. That's where you get into making up things and you get into defending what I call the indefensible. Okay. And I this is one of the things, again, I learned decades ago, and really work an effort never to defend the indefensible. I don't argue the point just to be able to say that I won the discussion. I want to labor to understand what is the truth to be understood about the issue that we're discussing. It doesn't matter. Business, social, economic, political, religious, it doesn't matter. What is the issue to be understood that is going to advance things versus things that are just going to let me be right and I could be, sure, I won the if you will, the debate, but I'm still headed down the wrong path. Lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions. I want to deal with this last topic right quick. Intentional omissions. Intentional omissions. You can tell the truth and not tell what you know to be the whole truth. In our court of law, one of the things that you do as they swear you into the witness stand is that they say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It's one of the things that our legal system does. And notice that the comment, the whole truth. The whole truth is as I understand it to be. So I can tell you the truth and not tell you the whole truth, and intentionally not tell you the whole truth because I want to hide something that is critical and crucial to what you're trying to understand. I can hide that. Now, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you all there was. People do that all the time. People engage in that all the time. I can tell you everything that you've asked me in full, honest truth, and still you walk away from that with the wrong impression or the wrong understanding of the issues at play. But I told you all the truth. Everything I told you, let me not say all the truth. I told you everything I told you was truth. And yet, the right understanding is still missing. How can that be? Because when you're dealing with truth, when you're dealing with lies, it gets convoluted and complex at times. And this is where mother comes into the picture. Holy Spirit, Father, Elohim, the kingdom come into the picture. My reliance on them is for me to know all that I need to know to do all that they're asking of me. Let's say that again. Mother and father come into the picture so that I can know all that I need to know to do all that they ask of me. I don't need to know everything about the kingdom. I need to know everything I need to know in order for me to do what they're asking me to do. Therein lies, you know, um, um, therein lies a sense of not having to know it all in order to be effective in what they are saying to me. Okay. And so, as mother and father are giving me these things, I try to apply that to my engagement with others, whether they're in the kingdom or whether they are not in the kingdom. I need to understand the things that I need to understand in order for me to effectively engage with you. I need to understand those things. So part of my job or part of my effort, if you will, part of my effort is to explore these issues in detail enough so that I can understand how we need to continue to engage and to move forward. That is a real challenge for many people because in many instances, patience is not something that people want to exercise. Again, in this culture that we live in, everything is instant and everything is in the moment, and we want to address, we want everything now. And sometimes there's a process that must unfold in order for all of the facts and the truth of about an issue are to come out. So as we look at lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions, I want to encourage everyone that is listening to me. I really want to encourage you to take the time, understand whether it's a lie or whether it's a just they just didn't have all the facts, whether it's a misstatement or whether it was an intentional intent on their part to deceive me and mislead me. And that's going to take some time for you to engage. And again, well, it's going to take some time for you to engage with them to understand those things. Or you're going to cast judgment and then you're going to make some decisions around that individual and decide whether or not you want to be involved with them or not, based on whether or not you believe that they're lying to you or not, and so forth. Okay. I know that if you were telling the truth and you were thought to be lying, you would like an opportunity to explain why you said what you believe to be the truth. So why not give that benefit of doubt to them as well? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? And so this is why I am not so quick to judge someone lying. Now, listen, I can always judge whether or not I believe them or whether I choose to believe them. That's your prerogative. But when we start calling people liars, we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful and understand that that we just may not, they may be giving us all that they understand the truth to be. Okay. Listen, and again, I know I'm treading in very, very blurred territory here. Okay. But that's part of what we do here at Kingdom Voice. We deal with the challenging discussions. And so as we engage with each other, sometimes the lines do get blurred between the truth, okay, and the lie. The lines do get blurred, beloved. Don't think that that line is as black and white as you might want to make it to be, okay? Because when we start determining and deeming people to be liars, we put ourselves in a situation now where we've defined a line that could very well be blurred. You have to engage that person. You have to engage with them. You have to explore that issue sufficiently enough to where you know for a fact that that person did in fact lie to you. And when you find out that they lied to you, confront it openly, honestly, and with the intensity that is due addressing that lie, because not all lies lead to the same type of consequences. Some are minuscule, others are very, very life-alteringly serious. Okay, very serious. I'll give you a sense of how serious some things can be. Um, can you imagine being accused of doing something that you didn't do? Neither did you not do it. You didn't even have the intent of doing it. That wasn't even anything remotely close to your intentions. Yet you were accused of not intending to do it, but actually doing it. And the main reason that you were being accused came from someone lying about you. Okay? What do you think the consequences of that are? You could go to prison behind that. You could lose your freedom behind that. Okay? You would want people to know all the facts around that issue. That's how serious it could be. Another, you know, situation of lying could be something as mundane as, um, I went to the store to buy, I don't know, groceries, right? I went to the store to buy that, and I had a list of things that I wanted to buy, and I came back with more than what was on the list. And I told my wife that, something other than what really happened. Probably not a whole lot of consequences going to fall out of that, right? I want us to understand that lies ought to be avoided at all cost, at all instances. Lies ought to be avoided. Misstatements ought to be avoided. Intentional omissions ought to be avoided. Tell what you know to be the truth to be. Tell all that you know to be the truth when situations call for it. As we get ready to bring it to a close and wrap up, and I want to get to some of your comments. And by the way, please continue to share your thoughts and comments. And Lola, I see your comments, and we'll get to that. That's why I want to kind of finish up a little bit early so that I can explore some of the comments. And everyone, please feel free to share your comments and your thoughts here before we get ready to wrap it up for today. Intentional omissions. I really want you to understand that when I am not telling someone all that they are asking of me, I am in fact lying to them, because I am omitting something that they are asking of me that I actually know. So some people would say, Well, that's not a lie. I'm just not telling you all the truth. Yeah, but you're intentionally omitting something that you know that they want to have, that they are asking for. Again, it gets very convoluted, and you may have issues around that you might want to explain. I think it would be incumbent upon you to share with them, to be open and honest with them that yes, I am not telling you all there is for reason. And it gets very difficult. That's a very challenging conversation because you know the next response is going to be, well, why aren't you telling me that? Why don't you tell me that? Why can't you tell me that? That's something that you have to deal with on a case, on a moment basis. But lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions, beloved, we are living in times that that these challenges are facing us on the daily. And we need the kingdom, and we need mother and father to help us navigate these times so that we can maintain integrity, honesty, and character in the midst of these challenging partisan times that we are living in here in these United States. Amen. Amen. Well, let me go to a couple of your comments today. And again, thank you so very much for sharing them. Lola says this, and I'll put it up on the screen. It says, "A lie to me is knowing truth, but one intentionally misinforms to manipulate and intentionally mislead or cause harm and hurt to others." Lola, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is the quintessential definition, my definition of lying. I did it to intentionally misinform someone, to intentionally have someone believe something other than what is in fact the case. And lies, misstatements, and intentional omissions all kind of are twins, or triplets, or first cousins of each other. Okay. When I lie to you, or I give a misstatement intentionally, or I intentionally omit some things that are in fact critical to a good understanding of the issues, they're all wrapped in the same little bundle, three peas in a pod, if you will, different, but all in the same environment. So I would encourage us all as kingdom people to strive to say, to give the truth, to give the statements that we know and believe to be the truth. And when we're asked to not intentionally omit things with the intent to deceive or mislead someone. Okay. Now let me say this to that intentional omission. There are some things. There are some things that people omit. That's a very challenging point. For example, when you're talking to someone, and I'm making this up, but I'll give this as an example. I'm talking to a young man about his mother that happens to be a drug addict, and a prostitute, and he wants to know how things. I have information about some things that happened to his mother. I can tell him all the truth and intentionally hold back some of the more grotesque things that perhaps doesn't do him any good to know, and certainly not from me. Okay. Am I lying to him? Are my omissions, intentional omissions, intended to maliciously deceive him? That's the conversation, that's the point that I'm getting at when I say in the moment you have to make those calls. And I think mother is going to be the arbiter of whether or not I go forward with the intentional omission, or do I you know tell it all to him. Mother has to be that arbiter. Mother has to be the governor of your heart at that point. I really hope you grab that. Here's another comment from Lola, a little bit lengthy. It says this: in psychology, we were taught there are four types of lies: white lies, a harmless or small lie told to avoid hurting someone's feeling; bold-faced lies, a clear Bear with me here. I'm gonna a clear. Here we go. Bold-faced lies, a clear, obvious lie told with with confidence, lying by omission, leaving out important information to deceive, absolutely, exaggeration, stretching the truth to make something sound better or worse than it is. This form, um, this formed a major debate in class. I can imagine, Lola, because I told them, if you are created in the image of Elohim, we are not wired to lie. We are born with the DNA of righteousness. And bear with me here, righteousness. So therefore, lies are taught to spirits. Two spirits cannot live in the same house. Absolutely, absolutely. And and Lola, I will go on to say those four um, categories of lies, often find themselves very um, prevalent in our engagements with with individuals and with life, with situations. Um, at the end of the day, if the intent there is to deceive someone from understanding something that's critical, that's necessary, that isn't healthy. Um, we, as I said, at the moment, in the moment, have to allow mother to let us know where the truth should be halted. And I guess that's probably the better way of putting it, where the truth should be halted in a given situation. Okay. I'm not lying to you. I'm not deceiving you. I'm not intentionally misleading you. I am just halting the truth because it's better at this, in this situation, in this conversation, that the truth be halted. Okay. And then now later on, mother may lead me to say, go and now give them the entirety of the truth. And then you go in and you explain to them, I didn't, because we were in this situation, we were in this arena. And then now I can have this honest conversation with you. I think those are equally um, acceptable, if you will, situations. And so this does get to be a little bit challenging. Last comment from Lola. Catalina, good morning. Lady Joe, good morning. Thank you guys for joining. Um, and he goes on, as chosen remnants of the kingdom, we should never tell lies. We do not serve the father of lies. We serve the Father, the God and Father of truth. Our DNA is wired in truth and righteousness. I believe when one lies, it has to do with an identity issue and what they were taught. I believe lies are learned behavior. Absolutely. So, um, you know, situations can overwhelm you. Situations can, you can find yourself in a situation where the moment overwhelms you. There's no question about that. Been there, done that. And find myself saying something that I knew was not the case and had to go back after the fact and fix it because the moment overwhelmed me. Just being transparent and open here. But at the moment that came out of my mouth, conviction set in. There's no question about it. Conviction set in. And as a result of that conviction, was compelled to get it right and to fix it and to correct what I said. Okay. I would continually encourage anyone and everyone that as you engage with these situations, as you engage with life and are confronted with these situations, lies, misstatements, intentional omissions, as conviction sets in, as conviction hits, address, allow, and embrace that conviction and go fix that which is wrong. Because what will result if you don't is you will beat yourself up. You will beat yourself up until that is corrected within you. Okay. And I want to encourage you not to do so. Lola says this: I totally understand. I totally understand. Sometimes you just hold back saying certain things to ease or calm a situation, but a lie just for the heck of it is insanity. Absolutely, Lola. No question about it. A lie is just for the sake of lying. That's insanity, and that's something that we absolutely want to avoid at all cost. Is are these lies that people tell, and us even avoid that with grave avoidance. I will say this before I go into the rest of your comments, and thank you all so very much for engaging with me in this conversation. And I'm going to say this very briefly, and I'll move on. We are in situations where we are so quick to brandish the term liar or lie on a situation. And I would say to all of us, seek first to understand the issues at hand about whatever it is that is being discussed before determining whether, or coming to your conclusion, whether you believe it to be a lie or whether you believe it to be something else. Because that's a pretty weighty accusation, is to say that someone is lying to you. That's a pretty weighty accusation. And I was telling you that I told my sons and daughters, you don't ever want to be brandished a liar. And I carry that into my professional life. I would tell my subordinates, and still do to this day, tell my subordinates that I'll support you. I'll give you all the support and air cover you need to do what I'm asking you to do. But I ask you to do one thing for me, and that is never to lie to me. That's all I ask. You know when you're lying, do not lie to me. If I'm asking you something, I want you to give me everything you know about that issue so that I can do what I need to do for you, to give you the cover that you need. And they all appreciated me for holding them accountable and demanding that of them. And it gave them the comfort to tell me things that were uncomfortable for me to hear. But because I required it of them, they were willing to share that with me without recourse or retribution from me. Even when they didn't do the things that that I asked them to do, when they were wrong, tell me that you were wrong. We're here. I'm not going to banish you to the outer lands, if you will, for not doing what I asked you to do. We'll get to that banishment in due time, but for now, my job is to make sure that you're telling me the truth. And they honored me with that, and I really do appreciate that. Catalina says this. She says, I have learned to say there is more, but I am not going to share at this time. Thank you, Catalina. That's very good. I may tell more in the future, but I'm not, and I apologize for any discomfort this may cause you. Catalina, that's well articulated and absolutely spot on. You're being open and honest. Listen, I know more, but I'm not telling it to you now. Okay. I'll share more in due time. And people tend to be very accepting of that. And I think that is a good approach when we're, if you will, intentionally omitting some information from someone. And I think that's a very good point. Very, very well said, Catalina. Lola says this. She says, I too have had to fix things that I said at the spur of the moment and was completely true. Thanks for being transparent. Thanks for the lesson today. Thanks, Lola. I do appreciate that as well. And again, guys, these are not, this isn't as cut and dry, black and white, as sometimes we would like to make the truth and the lie be. Sometimes it is very challenging, and sometimes it's very difficult. Catalina said this: I've also learned to tell people that not any of our that's not any of our business when asked things instead of giving, any of your business instead of giving half truths to get them to leave me alone. That's a very good point, Catalina. You're saying very clearly, what you're asking me is none of your business, so I'm not going to tell you. This is your business. I will tell you that. That's a very good point. Very, very good. And that way you're not skirting around. You're not bending you just tell them, I'm not telling you. That's none of your business. But how do you know it's not my business? Because I'm the one who has the truth and you're the one asking for it. And I've deemed it not to be your business right now. How about that? I love that. I love that. Very well done. Last comment. Thanks for being transparent. And for the lesson on today, I too have to go back and retract things I've said that was not completely true. Blessings and shalom. One love, one God. Absolutely, Lola. Again, guys, when we thank you, Lola. Thank you, Catalina. This is for me a safe space for us to share. And in order for it to be safe, I have to be transparent and share things that are just factual about my journey. And so thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it, everyone. Again, thank you all so very much for joining today. And I really appreciate all that you're doing and your participation in being with us for these last 60 minutes. And I want to say this as we get ready to close. I want to ask all of you to continue to support what we're doing here, continue to be a part of it. It means a lot to us. It means everything to us. And I want to invite all of you guys back again next week. So until then, be well, be blessed, and we'll see you again next Sunday morning.
Thank you for joining us today for the Kingdom Voice broadcast. Your presence made all the difference. Please know that we don't take your presence or participation lightly. We know you could have chosen to be a number of places this morning, but you chose to be with us, and we are so grateful. For those of you that would give a gift of any size, Apostle Bellany would like to give you a copy of his book that he co-authored with Apostle Vincent Poole and his wife Jolynn Poole, titled Kingdom 101, Revelational Truths of the Kingdom of God. For a gift of any size, simply email us at lcbellany@yahoo.com, and we will rush out a copy to you. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you again next Sunday morning at 10:30 Central Standard Time. God bless you, and thank you for your support.